Have you ever wondered, what might have been? What if the world you know, the cities, the nations, the very rhythm of our lives was built on a different path? A path where Rome never fell? Imagine streets lined not with ruins, but with the constant hum of Roman innovation, where empires endured centuries instead of collapsing, and history, as we know it, was rewritten. Would we be living in a world of infinite possibility, or one shadowed by endless power? Today, we journey into an alternate timeline, a world where Rome's legacy didn't crumble into myth, but marched forward into our present. And the first question we must ask is, would our lives, our governments, even our very freedoms, look the same? History is often written by the victors, or sometimes by the survivors. The fall of Rome in 476 AD marked the end of an era, but it also seeded the world we inhabit today. Feudal kingdoms, modern nations, and centuries of fragmented progress. But what if Rome had endured? What if the legions never withdrew, the emperors never faltered, and the Senate never lost its grip on power? In this video, we'll explore the world that might have been, a civilization that never collapsed, whose ideas, innovations, and influence shaped the course of humanity in ways we can only imagine. We'll ask questions that will challenge everything you thought you knew about history, politics, and human nature. Stay with me, because the first twist in our story will make you question whether stability is a blessing or a cage. Rome was more than bricks and blood. It was an idea. The idea that law, order, and architecture could shape civilization itself. If Rome had never fallen, its network of roads would have expanded across Europe, Africa, and Asia, connecting distant corners of the world in a single unbroken empire. Travel, trade, and communication would be faster, more efficient, centuries ahead of our own timeline. Imagine a world where the printing press, electricity, and the internet all emerged, not in the Renaissance or Industrial Revolution, but under the watchful eye of Roman engineers and thinkers. Art and philosophy would have merged seamlessly with science, as Roman patronage extended beyond the elite. Perhaps the greatest minds of the 16th or 17th centuries, Newton, Galileo, Da Vinci, would have been nurtured by Rome itself. But here's the paradox. Would progress truly flourish, or would the weight of imperial control stifle the very spark of innovation it once encouraged? The Romans were master builders and engineers. Roads, aqueducts, concrete. They had the foundations of modern infrastructure centuries before others. In an unbroken Roman Empire, the scientific revolution might have come centuries earlier. Steam engines, mechanical clocks, or even early electricity could have been discovered while Rome still ruled the known world. Medicine, too, could have leapt forward. With centralized governance and widespread knowledge sharing, diseases that devastated medieval Europe, plagues, cholera, might have been contained. Life expectancy could have soared. And yet, consider this. A single empire controlling all knowledge also controls freedom. Would innovation have become a tool of the elite rather than the people? Ask yourself, would a world without Rome's fall be a utopia or a gilded cage of eternal order? Without Rome's fall, Europe might never have fractured into feudal states. Monarchies, nation-states, even modern democracy could look entirely different, or never exist at all. Perhaps the Senate evolved into a global governing body, balancing the emperor's power with representation from every corner of the empire. Or perhaps tyranny endured indefinitely, stretching across continents. Culturally, imagine a world where Latin never died, where Roman art, law, and philosophy permeated every culture. Literature, theater, architecture, all enriched, all enduring. Religion, too, would have taken a different path. Christianity might have blended more fully with Roman paganism, or perhaps never gained the same dominance, shifting the moral and philosophical compass of society. But here's the haunting question. Would humanity's spirit thrive under unity, or rebel under the weight of eternal control? If Rome never fell, colonization might have been drastically different, or avoided entirely. The Americas could have been integrated into the empire centuries before European kingdoms even dreamed of crossing the Atlantic. Asia and Africa might have developed differently under the influence of Roman governance, blending technologies, cultures, and economies in ways we can barely imagine. Wars, too, would change. Without the power vacuum left by Rome's collapse, there would be fewer medieval conflicts, but perhaps larger, more organized wars on a global scale. The stakes of human ambition magnified. Imagine standing in a city where Rome's shadow stretches from one horizon to the next. Would you marvel at its glory or fear its grip? Here's the truth. History is fragile. One empire's fall reshapes millennia. One empire's endurance reshapes civilizations. A world where Rome never fell would be unrecognizable. Its streets might be safer, its cities grander, its knowledge deeper, but at what cost? Freedom, diversity, human unpredictability, would they survive under a single eternal hand? Sometimes, the collapse of empires is not just an end, it's a necessary beginning. The chaos of history fuels creativity, sparks revolutions, and gives rise to the very innovations we cherish today. So, as you imagine this alternate timeline, ask yourself, do you long for the order of Rome or the freedom of our imperfect fallen world? Rome never fell. And yet, in a way, it lives in all of us. In our laws, our languages, our ideas of governance and civilization. The story of Rome reminds us that empires rise and fall, but humanity endures. Each collapse carries a seed of transformation, and each endurance carries a weight of responsibility. History is not just a record of what happened, it is a mirror, reflecting what might have been and what we choose to become. So perhaps the question isn't whether Rome should have fallen, but what we would do if we could shape history, if the legacies of yesterday could guide the world of tomorrow. Rome never fell, but maybe in some ways it never truly ended either.